Hi guys, Mrs. Angel here. So today we are actually going to be drawing a cat, and we have already listened to the book Love Splatt by Rob Scotton, and we are going to be drawing a cat. And it's Valentine's Day, or coming around Valentine's Day, so I thought we could have some colors. And in the book, the cat's black, but I'm going to let you guys explore with different colors. So the first thing you need is a piece of paper and a pencil. I'm going to use a black crayon today, because eventually you'll want to trace over your lines with black crayon or black Sharpie. And then again, you could use anything you have at home. I'm actually going to use paint because I'm going to be doing that with my kiddos in class. But again, any other material you have at home is totally great. And I'm also using a 12 by 18 piece of paper, but you can use your regular piece of paper that you have. So the first thing we want to do to make sure we have enough spacing is we want to put our hand at the top of the paper, and we want to make our eyes right here. So you're just going to make 2 circles, and they're going to be pretty close together because Splatt, his eyes are pretty close together. Then we're going to add our little pupil, and again, you can put your pupils wherever you'd like. I'm going to make mine right there. And underneath our pupils, we're going to make our cute little nose, which is going to be a little bit of an oval shape. And then we're going to come down, and we're going to make an upside down V. Now for the fun part of designing the cat body. So we're gonna make kind of an arched line here, or a curved line. We're gonna make an upside down V and an upside down V for ears. And your cat can be really big. It can kind of start to come in a little bit. It's completely up to you. I'm gonna just bring my line kind of down and bring my line all the way to the edge of the paper. You guys could also, if you wanted him to have a little more of a smile, or her to have a little more of a smile, go ahead and curve it up. And then you can decide if you want to put a little collar on it, if you want to put a little shirt, if you want to make it a boy or a girl. It's completely up to you what you want to do. I'm actually even going to give it cute little eyebrows. Maybe you want to give it little eyelashes. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a cute little, kind of like a collar, I guess. And I'm going to kind of draw a line here, a line here. And I'm going to kind of give it a shirt feel. So I'm going to make a little V right here. Put another line right here and right here. And then maybe I want to give it buttons going down. You can make your buttons any shape you want. You could even have, the collar come out here. And then we don't want to forget that tail, okay? So I'm going to have my tail kind of coming out here and coming up. And then actually it's going to go off the page a little bit to come back on. All right, so I'm going to show you the next step. And I'm actually going to show you, since I used a black crayon, I'm going to show you one where you won't see these lines because of, I'm going to retrace it. All right, so now that I've retraced my cat, I've taken away those lines. And again, when you did it with pencil, you'll just be able to erase. Now I'm going to add a couple whiskers, and I'm just going to do, I like to just do 3 dots, nothing crazy, because you don't want a ton of lines everywhere. And I just kind of go out. You can do them however you want. And because it is Valentine's Day, we're coming close to Valentine's Day, you can choose to maybe add some hearts in the background. And if you don't know how to draw a heart, we've talked about making the letter M and then making a V attached to it. And you can make some smaller ones. You also could, put one on the shirt if you wanted. And if you decide you want to add some lines in the background for some extra design, go ahead and do that. We've made wavy lines, we've made zigzag lines. We've definitely been focusing a lot on lines. So I know that you guys know that there's wavy, zigzag, curly, straight, all that fun stuff. Now is where you guys would take your crayon, your oil pastel, or your black marker, and you would trace your whole entire cat. All right, for those of you who don't know what tempera cakes are, these are paint that are similar to watercolor. They definitely are more pigmented, so the colors are usually brighter, and they come in these little, they're called cakes, but they're little circles, and you have to add water to them, and they're very similar to watercolor. You get them wet, and then you swirl the water around, get the paint on there, and then you can paint. And then in between colors, you're gonna clean your brush out. I'm gonna be using these tempera cakes. I know they look kind of messy, but they're still totally usable. But I can't fit them all on the screen, but this is what I'm gonna be using. If you're at home or you're doing this somewhere else and you don't have access to watercolor, tempera paint, which is like, you know, the bottle paint, acrylic paint, or watercolor, you guys can use markers, which remember when we use markers, you can actually use water on top of those and turn those into a watercolor feel. I have a video on that on my channel as well. You guys can use crayons, you can use colored pencils, you can use chalks, you can use oil pastel. Whatever you want to use and whatever you have access to is awesome, okay? So we're gonna get started. And again, remember when you're using paint, you need a cup of water, and you need a brush, and you need some paper towel to dab your brush off after. So a couple of things. You wanna make sure when you're painting, you're not painting a wet area. Like if you're painting your cat, you can't immediately go and paint right next to it because your colors are gonna bleed together, blend together. I used a black crayon, so the black crayon with the oil, or excuse me, with the wax in it, will contain the paint, which is good. If you use an oil pastel, the oil pastel will do the exact same thing. It will contain the paint, but I suggest you give it a couple minutes for it to dry. So in the book, the cats are mainly black and white, and I don't want to have my cat in gray. I don't want to have my cat be black or white. I want to add some color. So because it's coming up to Valentine's Day, or maybe I just want to be funky, I'm gonna make my cat, I'm gonna do blue. So I am just rubbing my brush around this area, and I am going to then paint in my cat. I am going to leave my eyes white along with my nose and my shirt. So because I want to make those a different color. And again, when your paint gets light and like this, if you don't have any more, you need to go back into the paint and get some more on your brush. So again, I'm being very careful, going around, outlining, and then back and forth. I want to keep my brush kind of on its tippy toes, pretend it's a dancer or a ballerina, and just keep it up. I don't want to smush it out and fan the brush so that it smushes the bristles. I also don't want to keep going over and over and over, because what will happen is I'll get a hole in my paper. This is thick paper, so it won't put a hole in it as easily, but if you're using copy paper at home, you can get a hole really quick. So again, I'm doing the best that I can to stay out of the nose and out of the eyeballs. And I'm also going to paint the tail because that is part of the body. So I'm gonna do that as well. So again, the cool thing about using tempera paint or watercolor is it dries pretty quick. Mine is still a little damp because I just finished it, but what we can do is we're not going to do our nose right now because it would probably blend, and we're not going to do our shirt right now. We can do the buttons, we could do the hearts, but everything else we're just kind of going to let dry. And again, you want to make sure you're cleaning out your brush really good, and you're going to want to dab it on the paper towel so it's not super wet. And you guys can choose whichever colors you want, make it really bright, have fun with it. So I'm gonna make my little buttons, I'm gonna do them orange, and there we go. And then for my hearts, obviously, I want to do some pinks and some reds because it's Valentine's. And again, you can do this project too if it's not Valentine's Day. You can just put different lines and designs in the background. You can pick a different Splatt book to read aloud to your kiddos. Again, really fun project. And again, I'm cleaning my brush out, and I'm gonna get this red right here. And that one's not very red. And now in order to do the rest, I need to let it dry for a little bit. So we'll come back in a few. All right, so once it's dry, and you can usually tell when it's dry when it's not super shiny, and you'll notice there are a couple tiny areas that are a little bit shiny, but I'm not gonna go by them when I paint. But the next step is gonna be, we're gonna paint the shirt, and then we're gonna paint the background. All right, so I'm gonna get started, and I'm gonna put this on kind of a time lapse so it goes a little quicker. So now that I'm here, I actually have to wait because these areas are still really wet. And if I were to go to paint down here, it would bleed into the other color. So I'm gonna let this dry and then I'll fill in the next spaces. And friends, there we have our cat. So again, it could be a cat for Valentine's Day. It can just be a fun, easy way to make a cat. Just doing something fun with basic lines and shapes. So I can't wait to see yours. See you later.